The bullet screamed past my ear. Close. Too damn close. I pressed myself flat against Belle's neck, urging her faster across the broken terrain. Behind me, the voices of 5 men mixed with gunfire, echoing off the red canyon walls like thunder before a storm. Maybe 6 men. I'd stopped counting when the shooting started. "That kid's got my property," Cutter's voice carried across the mesa, raw with fury. The man ran an empire built on blood and lies, selling rifles to Apache bands, then selling their locations to the cavalry. A perfect circle of profit painted red with innocent lives. I'd stumbled onto his operation 3 days ago, hidden in a dry wash north of Cedar Creek. I should have ridden away, should have kept my mouth shut and my eyes on my own business. But I'd never been good at should. My mother used to say I had too much of her in me, not enough sense to stay out of trouble. Too much heart to ignore it when I saw it. She'd been dead 5 years now, and her voice still haunted every choice I made. Another bullet kicked up dust 10 feet to my left. Belle stumbled on loose rock, and my heart stopped for half a breath. She recovered, but I felt her pace slowing. We'd been running hard for 2 hours. Even a good horse has limits, and we were reaching ours. The landscape ahead offered no mercy. A wall of red stone rose like a fortress, ancient and indifferent to the drama of men with guns. No way around, no way through, just solid rock and the hot Arizona sun beating down like God's judgment. I pulled Belle up hard, scanning for options. To my right, a narrow split in the rock face, barely visible behind a screen of drought-twisted mesquite. It might be a dead end, might be a tomb, but staying out here in the open was a guaranteed bullet in the back. "Come on, girl," I whispered, guiding her toward the opening. "One more run." Belle's ears flicked back, listening, always listening. That mare had more sense than most men I knew. She pushed through the grabbing thorns without complaint, and suddenly we were in shadow, cool air washing over us like a blessing. The split in the rock was wider than it looked from outside, maybe 6 feet across, climbing up into darkness. I slid from the saddle, legs shaking from 2 hours of hard riding. My hands found Belle's reins, and I led her deeper into the narrow canyon. Behind us, Cutter's men were getting closer. I could hear them arguing about which direction I'd gone. Not much time. The passage twisted left, then right. The walls pressed in so close I had to turn sideways in places, pulling Belle along. She trusted me enough to follow, even when every horse instinct probably screamed at her to bolt. Then the passage opened into a cave. Not huge, but deep enough that the afternoon light barely reached the back wall. Cool air moved through it, carrying the smell of old water and bat droppings. The floor was sandy, scattered with rocks that had fallen from the ceiling over centuries. I tied Belle's reins to a jutting rock and checked my Colt. 5 rounds left. Not enough if Cutter's whole crew came through that passage. I'd have to make every shot count. That's when I heard it, a sound that didn't belong. Not the echo of my own movement, not Belle shifting her weight. Breathing, human breathing, coming from the darkness at the back of the cave. My hand found my gun, fingers wrapping around the grip. I moved slow, letting my eyes adjust to the dim light. The breathing continued, steady but tense, someone trying very hard to stay quiet. "Show yourself," I said, keeping my voice low. "I'm armed, and I've had a real bad day." Silence. Then a rustle of fabric, and a figure emerged from the deepest shadow. I couldn't make out details at first, just a shape, human-sized, moving with the careful grace of someone who'd learned to be quiet. Then a shaft of sunlight broke through a crack in the rock above, and I saw her. A woman. Apache by the doeskin dress and the way her long black hair fell loose around her shoulders. But there was something wrong with the picture, something that made my finger ease off the trigger even as my mind screamed warnings. She wore traditional dress, yes. Beadwork that would have taken months to complete decorated the bodice, but around her neck hung a silver cross on a tarnished chain, and her eyes, when they met mine, weren't dark brown like every Apache I'd ever seen. They were pale green, the color of new leaves in spring. Impossible. Wrong. "Who are you?" The words came out rougher than I intended. She didn't answer. Just stood there, one hand hidden behind her back. I'd bet everything I owned that hand held a weapon. "I asked you a question, ma'am." "This cave belongs to no one," she said. Her English was perfect. Not the broken speech of someone learning a foreign tongue, but the clear pronunciation of someone educated. "You have no more right to be here than I do." "Fair enough," I admitted. "But I got men with guns coming up that passage in about 2 minutes. Men who won't care much about who has rights to what. So maybe we could figure out a truce real quick?" Her eyes narrowed, calculating. Then they shifted to look past me, toward the cave entrance. In that moment, with her face turned to catch the light, I saw the bruises. Fresh ones, purple and yellow along her jawline, older ones fading to green on her cheekbone. Someone had beaten her, recently and often. "How many men, she asked. 5 or 6, armed with rifles, looking to kill me for interfering in their business." "What business?" "The kind where they sell guns to your people, then sell your people's location to the army. The kind that gets whole camps massacred for profit." Something flickered in her eyes. Not surprise, recognition maybe, or confirmation of something she already knew. "I will help you," she said. "But after you leave. Immediately." "Deal." She moved then, stepping fully into the light, and I saw what her other hand had been holding, a knife. Long blade, bone handle, recently used. My eyes tracked from the knife to the back of the cave, and that's when I saw him. A man's body, sprawled in the shadows. Apache, by his dress. The pool of dark liquid spreading beneath him told me everything I needed to know about how recently he'd died. "Jesus," I breathed. "He was my husband," she said, voice flat as desert stone. "Yellow horse. And yes, I killed him." Before I could process that, before I could ask the 100 questions screaming in my head, voices echoed from the passage. Cutter's men had found the opening. "In here!" someone shouted. "Trail leads in here." The woman moved fast, grabbing my arm. Her grip was strong, fingers digging in hard enough to bruise. "There's another way out, through the back, but we must go now." "What about my horse? Leave her, or die. Choose." I looked at Belle, faithful Belle who'd carried me through 2 hours of hell. Leaving her felt like betrayal. But staying meant dying, and dead men don't save horses. "I'm sorry, girl," I whispered, then followed the woman into the darkness. The passage she led me through was barely wide enough for a man. I had to turn sideways, shuffling along with one hand on the rough stone wall. Behind us, I heard Cutter's men enter the cave, heard their exclamations when they found Belle, heard the gunshot that made my stomach turn to ice. They'd killed my horse, for no reason except meanness. "Keep moving," the woman hissed. "Grief later. Survive now." The passage sloped downward, then up again. My shoulders scraped stone on both sides. Once, the walls got so narrow I had to exhale completely to squeeze through. The woman ahead of me moved like water, finding spaces that shouldn't exist, flowing through them without hesitation. Then, finally, the passage opened, not into another cave, but into a small canyon, hidden from view by the angle of the surrounding cliffs. The late afternoon sun painted everything gold and orange, beautiful, and completely indifferent to our problems. I turned to thank the woman and found her leaning against the rock face, breathing hard. Not from exertion, from pain. Her hand pressed against her side, and I saw dark wetness seeping between her fingers. "You're hurt," I said. "I'm fine." "That's blood. You're not fine." "It doesn't matter." "The hell it doesn't." I moved closer, but she pulled the knife up between us. The blade was still stained with her husband's blood. "Don't touch me," she said. But her voice shook, and I saw the tremor in her hand. "Look, I don't know what happened back there. Don't know who that man was or why you killed him. But you just saved my life. Least I can do is keep you from bleeding to death." "Why?" The question was sharp, suspicious. "Why would you help me?" "Because," I said slowly, "a long time ago, Someone told me that most men fear what they don't understand. But understanding doesn't mean you have to pick a side. Sometimes the only side worth fighting for is the one where people treat each other like humans. She stared at me for a long moment, those impossible green eyes searching my face for lies. Finally, slowly, she lowered the knife. "My name is Ayana," she said, "daughter of Elena Reyes and Father Miguel Reyes. My mother was Apache. My father was a Spanish priest. Both were killed when I was 5 years old, for the crime of loving across lines that should not be crossed." "Jake Calloway," I replied, "son of Grace and Thomas Calloway. My mother died when I was 17. My father's still alive, but might as well be dead for all the warmth in him." "Then we are both orphans," Ayana said, "in one way or another." Thunder rumbled in the distance. I looked up and saw dark clouds building on the western horizon, rolling in fast the way desert storms do. The temperature was already dropping, wind picking up with that electric smell that meant rain. Lots of it. "We need shelter," I said. "That storm's going to hit hard." "There's a place," Ayana said, "not far, an old line shack, abandoned, if we can reach it before the rain." She started walking, one hand still pressed to her side. I caught up to her in 3 strides. "Let me look at that wound. After we reach shelter. You might not make it to shelter if you keep bleeding." She stopped, turned to face me. "You want to help? Then stop asking questions and start walking." Fair enough. I shut my mouth and walked. The landscape around us was a maze of rock and sand, dotted with mesquite and creosote bush. Everything looked the same in every direction, but Ayana moved with purpose, like she had a map written in her bones. We climbed over fallen boulders, squeezed through narrow passages, followed dry creek beds that would soon be raging torrents. The storm hit just as we reached the line shack, not a gradual buildup, but all at once, like God had ripped open the sky and poured the ocean through. Rain fell in sheets so thick I could barely see 10 feet ahead. Lightning cracked across the sky, close enough that I felt it in my teeth. The shack was small, built of adobe and rough timber, half collapsed on one side but still offering walls and most of a roof. We stumbled inside just as hail started mixing with the rain, chunks of ice the size of walnuts hammering down with enough force to kill. Inside it was dark and musty, but dry. I felt along the walls until I found an old lantern. Empty of oil, but at least there was a candle stub in the holder. I had matches in my vest pocket wrapped in waxed paper to keep them dry, a habit my mother had taught me back when she was still teaching me things. The match flared, and candlelight pushed back the darkness. The shack was maybe 12 feet square, with a dirt floor and walls that had seen better decades. But it had a small fireplace in one corner, and someone had left a stack of wood that was mostly dry. Ayana stood by the door watching the storm rage outside. Her dress was soaked through, clinging to her frame. I could see now how thin she was, like she hadn't been eating regular, and the way she held herself, guarding that injured side, told me the wound was worse than she'd admitted. "Sit down," I said. "Let me get a fire going, then I'm looking at that cut whether you like it or not." For once she didn't argue, just moved to the wall and slid down it, sitting with her knees pulled up. The candlelight caught her face, and I saw how young she was, not much older than me, 25 at most. But her eyes held centuries of hurt. I got the fire going with hands that had done it 1,000 times before. Old Harley had taught me well. The scout had spent 20 years living with Apache bands, learning their ways, and he'd passed some of that knowledge to a scrawny kid who asked too many questions. When the flames were strong enough to give real light and heat, I turned to Ayana. "Now, let me see." She hesitated, then slowly pulled her hand away from her side. The doeskin dress was dark with blood, soaked through where something had cut deep. She started to lift the dress, then stopped, looking at me. "I need to see the wound to help it," I said. "I'm not going to hurt you." "Men always say that," she replied. "Right before they do." "I'm not those men." "Prove it." So I moved slow, telegraphing every motion, helped her ease the dress up just enough to expose the injury, The cut ran along her ribs, maybe 4 inches long. Deep enough to bleed heavy, but it had missed anything vital, lucky in its way. "Knife wound," I said. He was very angry. "Your husband?" "Yes." I had water in my canteen, not much, but enough to clean the wound. I had a clean handkerchief my mother had embroidered years ago, never used because it seemed too pretty to waste. I used it now, pressing it against the cut to slow the bleeding. Ayanna hissed in pain but didn't pull away. "Why'd you kill him?" I asked, keeping my voice gentle. "Because he killed my daughter." The words fell into the room like stones into still water. I felt them ripple through me, changing everything. How old? 3 months. Her eyes were blue, like her father's. Yellow Horse wasn't her father? No. Ayanna's voice was barely a whisper now. Her father was a man named Thomas. Thomas Everett. A scout, like you said you learned from. He worked at the mission school where I learned to read and write. I was 16. Stupid. I believed him when he said he loved me. My hands stilled on the bandage. "Thomas Everett? You know him?" "He's the one who taught me," I said slowly. "The old scout I mentioned. Harley was his nickname. Thomas Harley Everett." Ayanna's eyes locked onto mine. "He's alive?" "Was. Died 2 years ago. Took a bullet in a skirmish with an Apache raiding party." I paused, then added what I knew. "He was a good man. Taught me to see people as people, not just skin color. Taught me Apache language and customs. Taught me that hatred only breeds more hatred." "He also taught you lies," Ayanna said, bitterness seeping through, "because that good man left me pregnant and alone, disappeared back to his white world while I married Yellow Horse to hide my shame. And when my daughter was born with the wrong eyes, Yellow Horse knew. He knew she wasn't his, so he took her from me. Told everyone she died of fever, but I heard her crying that night. Heard it for hours, until it stopped." She was crying now, silent tears tracking down her cheeks. I finished bandaging the wound, using strips torn from my shirt to tie it secure. Then I did the only thing that seemed right. I sat down next to her, close enough that our shoulders touched. "I'm sorry," I said. "Sorry doesn't bring her back." "No, but it's all I got right now." We sat in silence, while the storm raged outside. The rain was relentless, turning the desert into a temporary sea. Lightning flashed so often, it felt like day trying to break through. Thunder shook the small shack, rattling the loose boards. After a while, Ayanna spoke again. "Why did you interfere with those men, the ones selling guns?" "Because I heard their plan. Sell weapons to Apache bands, then turn around and tell the cavalry exactly where those bands are camped. The cavalry comes in, finds women and children armed with fresh rifles, uses it as justification to wipe them out. Cutter collects payment from both sides, and innocent people die." "You could have walked away." "Yeah," I admitted. "I could have. Probably should have. But I keep hearing my mother's voice in my head. She used to say that evil only wins when good people do nothing. And I've done nothing for too damn long." Ayanna turned to look at me fully. "You're a strange white man, Jake Calloway. So I've been told. Most would have left me in that cave, or worse. Most haven't been where I've been, haven't lost what I've lost. My mother died slowly, over months from the fever. Every day watching her waste away, knowing there was nothing I could do. It changes you, makes you understand that life's too short and too hard to spend it adding to the suffering. And yet you fight. You ran from those men. You could have given them what they wanted. What they wanted was me dead. Hard to negotiate with that. I shifted, trying to find a comfortable position against the wall. Besides, running's not the same as quitting. Running's just moving the fight to better ground." She almost smiled at that. Almost. Outside, the storm began to ease. The drumming rain slowed to a steady patter. Lightning moved farther away, thunder following seconds later instead of immediately. The worst had passed. "We should rest," I said. "Come morning, we'll need to figure out our next move." "I have no next move," Ayanna said. "I killed my husband. His brother Running Wolf will hunt me. His clan will demand justice. And I have nowhere to run that they won't find me." "Then don't run. Stand and fight." Against a whole clan? With what? A knife and anger? With the truth. With witnesses. With people who'll stand up and say what happened wasn't murder, it was survival. No one will stand up for a half-breed woman who killed an Apache warrior. I met her eyes. I will. She stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Why? Because it's right. Because you saved my life today. Because that's what decent people do. Decent people don't exist in my world. Then maybe it's time to find a new world. She studied me for a long moment, those green eyes searching for deception. Finding none, she finally looked away, out at the dying storm. You're either very brave or very foolish, Jake Calloway. Probably both, I admitted. But I'm here, and I'm not leaving you to face this alone. The fire crackled, filling the silence. Ayanna leaned her head back against the wall, exhaustion finally claiming her. I could see the pain lines around her eyes starting to ease as whatever strength she'd been using to hold herself together began to fail. Sleep, I said. I'll keep watch. You need rest too. I'll rest when you're safe. She didn't argue, just closed her eyes and let sleep take her. Within minutes, her breathing deepened, evened out. The tension in her shoulders released. I sat there watching her, thinking about the strange turns life takes. 24 hours ago, I'd been a cowboy with no particular purpose beyond earning wages and staying alive. Now, I was sheltering with a woman who'd killed her husband, promising to stand against her enemies, all because of a chance meeting in a cave. My mother would have called it fate. Old Harley would have called it damn foolishness. Me? I called it a chance to finally be the man I'd always wanted to be, but never had the courage to become. Outside, the rain stopped. The clouds began to break apart, revealing stars that had watched these lands long before men came to fight over them. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Cutter's men would still be hunting. Running Wolf would start his pursuit. The whole territory would soon know about the half-Apache woman who'd killed one of their warriors. But tonight, in this small shack, with a dying fire and a stranger sleeping trustingly beside me, I felt something I hadn't felt in 5 years: purpose. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something worth living for. Dawn came quiet, painting the desert in shades of rose and gold. I'd dozed off sometime in the deep night, waking now to find Ayanna already awake, sitting by the small window and staring out at the transformed landscape. The storm had left everything clean and new. Water pooled in the low places, catching the early light like scattered mirrors. In a few hours, the desert would drink it all back, thirsty as always. But for now, the world looked almost peaceful. "Sleep well?" I asked, my voice rough from the dry air. "Better than I have in months." She turned from the window. The bruises on her face looked darker in the morning light, more purple and yellow, but her eyes were clearer, more focused. "Thank you for not killing me in my sleep. That's a pretty low bar for gratitude. In my life, it's the highest bar most men clear." I stood, stretching muscles stiff from sleeping against a wall. "We need to talk about what happens next." "I know what happens next. I run. You go back to your life. We pretend this meeting never occurred." Or, I said, moving to stand near her, "We don't do that. You said you'd help. You have. Your debt is paid. I don't see it as a debt. I see it as a choice. And I'm choosing to keep helping." Ayanna stood, moving carefully to protect her injured side. "Why? You don't know me. Don't owe me anything beyond what's already been given. Why risk your life for a woman who brings nothing but trouble? Maybe I'm tired of playing it safe. Maybe I see someone worth fighting for. Or maybe," I met her eyes, "maybe I'm just selfish enough to want to see how this story ends. This story ends with me dead and you regretting your choices. You don't know that. I know Running Wolf. He's not like his brother. Where Yellow Horse was brutal and stupid, Running Wolf is brutal and smart. He'll track me, find me, and when he does, he'll make my death slow. Then we make sure he doesn't find you. There is nowhere in this territory he won't look." "There are places," I said, "places between worlds. Trading posts where questions aren't asked. trails that don't appear on any map. I know people. People who help folks like us. Folks like us, she repeated. White cowboys and half-breed killers? People who don't fit the boxes others try to put them in. She studied me again with that intense gaze that seemed to see straight through skin and bone. You really believe that? That there's a place for people like us? I have to, because if there isn't, then what's the point of any of this? Before she could answer, we heard it. Distant but unmistakable. Hoofbeats. Multiple horses moving fast. I moved to the window, peering out through a crack in the shutters. 5 riders coming from the east. Too far to make out faces, but close enough to know they were searching. Cutter's men, or Running Wolf's warriors, or maybe both. Either way, trouble. We need to move, I said. Where? We have no horses, no supplies, and they're between us and any help. She was right. The riders were approaching from the direction of the nearest town. Going that way meant running straight into them. Going the other direction meant heading deeper into Apache territory. How far to the nearest water? I asked. Half a day's walk, maybe less if we push hard. And from there's a trading post 3 days on foot. McCready's place. He trades with everyone, asks no questions. Will he help us? He helped my mother once, long time ago, before I was born. I don't know if he'll remember, but it's the only chance we have. The riders were getting closer. We had maybe 10 minutes before they reached the shack. Then we go, now. We slipped out the back, moving low and fast across the broken ground. The morning sun was rising fast, burning off the cool air. Within an hour, it would be blazing hot. We needed to cover as much ground as possible before then. Ayanna moved well despite her injury, setting a pace that made my legs burn. She knew this land in a way I never would, finding game trails and hidden passages through the rocks. We climbed ridges and descended into arroyos, always moving, always putting distance between us and the riders. By midday, the heat was brutal. We stopped in the shade of a large boulder, rationing the last of my water. Ayanna had none of her own. Everything she'd owned was back in that cave with her dead husband. Tell me about McCready, I said, trying to focus on something other than thirst. He's old now, maybe 60. Came out here 30 years ago with his wife, Maria. She was Mexican, from a good family. They disowned her when she married an American trader, so they built a life here between worlds, trading with everyone, judging no one. Sounds like good people. They are, or were. I haven't seen them in 15 years, not since my mother died. How did she die? I asked, then immediately regretted it when I saw her face close off. Sorry, not my business. No, Ayanna said slowly. It's all right. If we're going to travel together, you should know the whole story. She took a small sip of water, then continued. My father, Miguel, was a Jesuit priest, came to convert the Apache. My mother, Elena, was his guide and translator. They fell in love. The church called it sin. The Apache called it betrayal. They tried to hide it, but I was born with these. She gestured to her green eyes. Impossible to hide mixed blood when it shows so clearly. What happened? The church accused my father of fornication with a savage. The Apache accused my mother of consorting with the enemy. Both sides wanted blood. They got it. The church hanged my father. The Apache, they let my mother choose her death. She chose poison. Quick, they said. Merciful. Jesus. I was 5, old enough to remember. Old enough to understand that love killed them both. That's not love's fault. That's people being cruel. Is there a difference? I didn't have an answer for that. We rested another 10 minutes, then pushed on. The sun climbed higher, turning the desert into an oven. My shirt was soaked with sweat, sticking to my back. Ayanna's face was flushed, her breathing labored. But she didn't complain, didn't ask to stop. By late afternoon, we reached the water. A small spring feeding a pool maybe 20 feet across, surrounded by cottonwoods and willow. Paradise in the middle of hell. We both drank deep, then deeper. The water was cool and sweet, tasting of minerals and life. I dunked my whole head under, feeling the heat leach out of my skull. When I surfaced, Ayanna was watching me. What? I asked. You could leave now. Tell anyone who asks that you never saw me. Go back to your life. We've been over this. I know. But I needed to say it one more time. Give you one more chance to be smart. I've never been accused of being smart. No, she said, and there was something like warmth in her voice. I suppose not. We made camp by the water, using the trees for shelter. There was no fire this time, too risky with people hunting us. We ate from the land, Ayana showing me which plants were safe, which roots could be dug up, which insects provided protein. Old Harley had taught me some of this, but Ayana knew it the way birds know how to fly. Instinct and practice combined into effortless skill. As darkness fell, we sat with our backs against a large cottonwood listening to the night sounds, crickets and frogs, celebrating the brief wet. Somewhere distant a coyote called, answered by another, then another, building into a chorus. They sing for the rain, Ayana said softly. Thank the spirits for bringing life. Always sounded lonely to me. Everything is lonely, Jake Calloway. But Coyote accepts it, doesn't fight what is. I thought about that, about all the things I'd fought against in my life, my father's coldness, my mother's death, the expectations of a town that knew me only as the son of a failed rancher. Maybe Ayana was right. Maybe fighting what is just wasted energy, better spent on building what could be. Tell me about Thomas, she said suddenly. The man who taught you. What was he like? Complicated, I said. He could track a whisper across stone, knew 6 Indian languages, could start a fire in a rainstorm, and find water where everyone else saw only dust. But he was also haunted. Drank too much on the nights when memories got loud. Never talked about his past, but I could see it weighing on him. Did he ever mention me? I wanted to lie, wanted to spare her the pain, but she deserved truth. No, he never spoke of any woman. Never spoke of having children. I always assumed he was alone by choice. He was alone because he chose to abandon those who loved him. Maybe. Or maybe he was trying to protect them. Maybe he knew that being with him would bring danger. Protection through abandonment is just cowardice with a prettier name. She was probably right. But I'd loved old Harley like the father mine never was. Defending him felt automatic even when the defense was weak. I found something of his after he died, I said, reaching into my pocket. Was going to sell it, but never could bring myself to do it. I pulled out the compass, brass and old, tarnished but still functional. Engraved on the back were the initials THE and a date, March 15th, 1865. Ayana took it, her hands trembling. I gave this to him for his birthday. I stole silver from the mission, melted it down, paid a Mexican smith to make it. I was so proud. He carried it every day I knew him, never went anywhere without it. Did he look at it? Did he remember? I don't know, but he kept it. That has to mean something. She turned the compass over in her hands, tears sliding down her cheeks. He kept the compass, but not me. Kept the memory, but not the girl. What does that mean, Jake? What does any of it mean? I had no answer, so I did what felt right. Wrapped my arm around her shoulders and let her cry. She resisted at first, stiff and unyielding. Then something broke and she turned into my chest, sobbing with the kind of grief that's been held back too long. I held her while she wept for all her losses. Her mother, her father, her daughter, her innocence. The man who'd promised love but delivered abandonment. All of it poured out in tears and shaking shoulders. When she finally quieted, she didn't pull away, just stayed there, breathing slowly, my shirt wet with her tears. I don't know how to trust anymore, she whispered. Every man I've ever trusted has hurt me. Then don't trust me yet. Just let me prove I'm different. And if you're not, if you're just like all the others, then I guess you can add me to the list of disappointments. But I don't think you will. She pulled back enough to look at me. In the moonlight, her green eyes looked almost silver. You're very sure of yourself. Not really. I'm terrified I'll let you down. Terrified I'll fail you like Thomas did. But I'm more terrified of not trying. She studied my face like she was memorizing it. Then, slowly, she leaned in and pressed her lips to mine. Soft, questioning, testing. I froze, not wanting to push, not wanting to pull away, letting her control the moment. She deepened the kiss, and I felt something crack open in my chest, something I'd kept locked away since my mother died. The part of me that could still feel, still hope, still believe in connection. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, she rested her forehead against mine. "Don't make me regret this," she said. "I'll do my best not to." We sat like that for a long time, holding each other under the stars. Tomorrow would bring new dangers. McCready's trading post was still 3 days away. Cutter's men and Running Wolf's warriors were both hunting us. Every step would be a risk. But tonight, in this moment, we had something more valuable than safety. We had each other. And sometimes that's enough to build a future on. The sound woke me 2 hours before dawn. Not loud, but wrong. The night had its own rhythms, and this didn't fit. Horses, moving slow, trying to be quiet. I touched Ayana's shoulder. She woke instantly, no grogginess, just immediate alertness. I put my finger to my lips, pointing toward the sound. We moved like shadows, gathering what little we had and slipping into the deeper brush. The cottonwoods provided good cover, but we needed to see who was coming. 3 riders approached the waterhole. Too dark to make out faces, but I could see they were Apache by the way they sat their horses. They dismounted, letting their animals drink while they scanned the area. One of them knelt by the pool, running his hand over the mud at the edge. Even from 30 feet away, I saw him stiffen. He'd found our tracks. He spoke in Apache, too quick and quiet for me to catch all the words, but I heard one name clearly. Running Wolf. These weren't random travelers, they were scouts, hunting for Ayana. The lead scout stood, calling out in Apache. "We know you're here. We found your trail from the old shack. There's nowhere to run." Ayana's hand found mine, gripping tight. The scout continued. "My name is Standing Bear. Running Wolf sent me with a message for his brother's killer." A pause. Then, surprisingly, he switched to English. "Ayana, daughter of Elena. I knew your mother. She saved my life when I was a child, pulled me from a flooding river. I owe her a debt. So I will tell you this. Running Wolf is not hunting you for revenge. He's hunting you to bring you home." I felt Ayana tense beside me. He knows what Yellow Horse did, knows about the child. He wants to make it right. "It's a trap," Ayana whispered to me. Maybe, or maybe it's truth. Standing Bear was still talking. "Yellow Horse lied to everyone. Said your daughter died of fever. But Running Wolf found the truth. The child lives. She was given to a Mexican family near Fort Grant. Running Wolf can take you to her." Ayana made a sound, half gasp, half sob. "But you must come now," Standing Bear continued. "The Mexican family plans to leave for California in 1 week. If you miss them, you'll never see your daughter again." "It has to be a trap," Ayana repeated, but her voice shook with hope and longing. "We leave at dawn," Standing Bear said. "If you want your daughter, come with us. If not, we'll report that we found no trace, but this is your only chance." The 3 men mounted their horses and rode away, heading north. Within minutes, they were gone, swallowed by darkness. Ayana turned to me, her face a storm of emotions. "What do I do? What does your heart tell you?" "My heart is a liar. It's told me to trust before, and I've been destroyed every time." "Then what does your gut tell you?" She was quiet for a long moment. "It tells me that my daughter is alive, that I have to try, even if it kills me." "Then we go to Fort Grant." "We? You think I'm letting you walk into danger alone, after everything?" "This isn't your fight, Jake. Like hell it isn't. You're part of my life now. That makes everything about you my fight too." She searched my face in the dim pre-dawn light. "You're insane." "Probably, but I'm your kind of insane. Despite everything, despite the fear and uncertainty," she smiled. "Yes, you are." We waited until full dawn before moving. The scouts had gone north, so we headed west, making for Fort Grant by a longer but safer route. McCready's trading post would have to wait. First, we had to find out if Standing Bear spoke truth or lies. And we had to find Ayana's daughter. The walk to Fort Grant would take 4 days if we pushed hard. 4 days of exposure, danger, and doubt. But as I watched Ayanna set her jaw with determination, I knew she'd walk through fire if it meant holding her child again, and I'd walk right beside her. Because somewhere between a cave and a shack and a pool under cottonwoods, she'd stopped being a stranger and started being something more. She'd become my purpose, and a man with purpose can survive anything. The sun was merciless on the 3rd day. We'd been walking since before dawn, pushing through heat that turned the air into something solid you had to fight through with every breath. My canteen had been empty since noon. Ayanna's lips were cracked and bleeding, but she hadn't complained once. Fort Grant was still 2 days away. We wouldn't make it without water and supplies. "There," Ayanna said, pointing to a thin column of smoke rising in the distance. "McCready's post, we're close." The trading post sat in a shallow valley, protected on 3 sides by red rock formations. A squat adobe building with a tin roof that caught the sun like a mirror. Corrals held maybe a dozen horses. A vegetable garden struggled against the heat behind the main structure. Smoke rose from a chimney despite the temperature. As we got closer, I saw a man on the porch. Big, maybe 60 years old, with gray-red hair and arms like tree trunks. He had a rifle across his knees, watching our approach with the careful attention of someone who'd survived 3 decades in hostile territory. "That's McCready," Ayanna said. "Let me talk first. If he doesn't remember, if he turns us away, we run." "Where?" "Anywhere but here." We walked up to the porch slowly, hands visible, making no sudden moves. McCready stood, the rifle not quite pointed at us, but ready to be. "Help you folks?" His voice was a rumble, like rocks grinding together. "Mr. McCready," Ayanna said, "my name is Ayanna Reyes, daughter of Elena Reyes. You knew my mother 30 years ago. She came to you for help when the church wanted to kill my father." McCready's eyes narrowed, studying her face. Then his gaze shifted to me. "And who's this?" "Jake Calloway, a friend." "Friend." McCready drew out the word, tasting it. "You don't look like you got many of those, boy. Look like you've been running hard from something." "We have been," I admitted. "And we need help. Water, supplies, maybe a place to rest for a night." "That all?" "No," Ayanna said. "I need information. About Fort Grant. About a Mexican family who might have my daughter." McCready stared at her for a long moment. Then he lowered the rifle. "Elena's daughter. I'll be damned. You got her eyes. Different color, but same look. Like you could see straight through a man's lies." "Then you'll help?" "Didn't say that. Said I recognized you." He turned toward the door. "Maria, come out here. Got someone you need to see." A woman emerged from inside. Shorter than McCready, dark hair streaked with gray, skin the color of polished oak. She wore a simple dress and had flour on her hands, like we'd interrupted her cooking. She took one look at Ayanna and gasped. "Dios mío, Elena?" "No, ma'am. I'm her daughter, Ayanna." Maria came down the steps fast, ignoring McCready's warning grunt. She took Ayanna's face in her flour-dusted hands, studying her closely. Yes, I see her, but also Miguel. You have his jaw, his nose." Tears filled her eyes. "They're both gone, aren't they? 20 years now. I'm sorry, mija, so sorry." Maria pulled Ayanna into a fierce hug. "You should have come to us. We would have taken you in." "I was 5. I didn't know where you were. The Apache took me, raised me. And now you're here." Maria held Ayanna at arm's length, hurt, running, scared. She turned to her husband. "Duncan, these children need help." "Maria, we don't know what they're mixed up in." "I don't care. Elena saved my life once. Stood up for me when the whole territory called me a whore for marrying you. We owe her." Maria's voice was steel. "They stay. Feed them. Give them what they need." McCready sighed, the sigh of a man who'd lost this argument many times before. "Fine. But you," he pointed at me, "tell me straight. What kind of trouble you bringing to my door?" So I told him, all of it, Cutter and the gun running. Yellow Horse and his death. Running Wolf's message about Ayana's daughter. The need to reach Fort Grant before the Mexican family left for California. McCready listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "That's a hell of a story, boy." "It's the truth." "Didn't say it wasn't." He rubbed his jaw. "Cutter's men came through here 2 days ago, looking for a young cowboy who stole from them, offered $50 for information." My stomach dropped. "What did you tell them?" "Told them I hadn't seen anyone matching the description. Then I told them to get off my property before I shot them for trespassing." He smiled grimly. "Cutter knows better than to push me. We got an understanding. He don't mess with my customers. I don't tell the army about his operation." "And Running Wolf?" "Haven't seen him or his scouts. But that don't mean much. Apache can move through this territory invisible when they want to be." Maria had been listening, her arm around Ayana's shoulders. "The Mexican family, I know them, Carlos and Sofia Mendez. Good people. They come here to trade sometimes." "Do they have a little girl?" Ayana's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes, Maria, they call her, maybe 3 years old. Beautiful child. Brown hair, but the strangest eyes. Green, like new grass." Ayana's knees buckled. I caught her before she hit the ground, holding her up as sobs racked her body. Not sad crying. Relief. Hope. The sound of a mother learning her child lived. "Come inside," Maria said, "both of you. Duncan, bring water. I'll make food." The interior of the trading post was cooler. Thick adobe walls keeping out the worst of the heat. Shelves lined every wall, packed with goods, blankets, tools, canned food, ammunition, fabric, medicine. Everything a person might need to survive out here. Maria led us to a back room, smaller and private. A real bed with a quilt, a wash basin. A small table with 2 chairs. Luxury after days of sleeping on hard ground. "This was our son's room," Maria said quietly. "Before." "Before?" I asked. "Before the cholera took him. 10 years ago. He was 10 years old." Her voice stayed steady, but pain flickered in her eyes. "After that, we couldn't have more children, so this room sits empty. But not tonight." She left us, closing the door behind her. Ayana sat on the bed, still crying, holding herself like she might fall apart if she let go. I knelt in front of her, taking her hands. "Hey, look at me." She raised her eyes, green and swimming with tears. "Your daughter is alive. We're going to find her. I promise you that." What if Running Wolf lied? What if it's a trap to draw me out? Then we spring the trap carefully. But Maria knows the family. That part's real, which means the rest might be too. And if Running Wolf takes her from them, if he's already gone, then we follow, to California, to hell itself if we have to, but we don't stop until you hold your daughter. She searched my face, looking for doubt. Finding none, she pulled me close, holding on like I was the only solid thing in a world of quicksand. McCready knocked, then entered with a tray. Water, bread, cheese, dried meat. Simple food that looked like a feast. "Eat," he ordered. "Then sleep. You both look half dead." "We need to leave tomorrow," Ayana said. "Get to Fort Grant. Fort Grant's 4 days from here on foot, 2 on horseback." McCready set down the tray. "I'll sell you 2 horses, fair price. You got money?" I thought of the few coins in my pocket. Not nearly enough. "Some." "How much?" "Maybe $3. McCready snorted. 2 horses worth at least 60. Plus tack, supplies, you're looking at 80, maybe 90. My heart sank. We were so close. "However," McCready continued, "I could use some help. Got a wagon of goods coming from Tucson in 3 days. Needs to be unloaded, sorted, shelved. Hard work. Take 2 people a full day." "We don't have 3 days," Ayana said. "No, but you got today to rest, tonight to sleep proper, and tomorrow to work. Leave the next morning, you'll reach Fort Grant in 2 days instead of 4. Mendez family ain't leaving for another 5 days. You'll make it." It made sense. Painful sense, but sense. "Deal," I said. McCready nodded. "Good. Now eat. Maria will bring hot water for washing. There's clothes in the chest, belong to our son. Boy, you're about his size. Might fit. He left us alone. Ayanna and I ate in silence, too hungry for conversation. The bread was fresh, the cheese sharp and good. Water never tasted so sweet. After eating, Maria brought hot water and clean cloths. She helped Ayanna wash and change while I waited outside. When my turn came, I scrubbed away 3 days of sweat and dust, watching the water turn brown. The clothes in the chest fit well enough. Pants, a shirt, even socks without holes. Small luxuries that felt enormous. When I came back to the room, Ayanna was asleep on the bed, curled on her side like a child. The late afternoon sun slanted through the window, painting her in gold. She looked peaceful for the first time since I'd met her. I settled into the chair, intending to keep watch. But exhaustion pulled at me like an undertow. My eyes closed just for a moment. I woke to voices, men's voices, angry and close. The sun had set. The room was dark except for lamplight from the main store. I moved to the door, listening. "I know you're hiding them, McCready." A voice I recognized. Bill Hawkins. "Saw their tracks leading here. Fresh, maybe a day old." "Don't know what you're talking about, Bill. Don't play stupid. That boy Jake, the one Cutter's after, and some squaw. They're here. Even if they were, it ain't your business." "It's my business when there's money involved. Cutter raised the bounty. $100 for the boy, $50 for the woman." "That's blood money, Bill, and you know it. Money's money." Hawkins' voice got harder. "Now you can make this easy or hard, but I'm searching this place." I heard McCready move, probably reaching for his rifle. "The hell you are! This is my property. You want to search it, you go get the sheriff and a warrant." "Ain't no law out here, old man. Just what a man can take and what he can hold." "Then let me tell you what I can hold." McCready's voice dropped to a growl. "This shotgun holds 2 shells of buckshot. At this range, it'll cut you in half. You got 2 friends outside. Maria's got a rifle on them right now through the window. So here's how this plays. You walk out that door, get on your horses, and ride away. Or we fill you so full of lead they'll need a wagon to carry what's left." Silence, long and tense. "You're making a mistake," Hawkins said finally. "Made plenty of those. One more won't hurt." I heard boots on wood, the door opening and closing, hoofbeats fading into the night. I waited 5 minutes, then opened the door. McCready stood by the window, shotgun in hand, watching the darkness. "They gone?" I asked. "For now, but they'll be back, probably with more men." He turned to face me. "You got maybe 12 hours. After that, this place won't be safe for any of us." "I'm sorry, we brought this on you." "Hell, boy, I've been in worse scrapes. But you need to understand something." He set down the shotgun. "Bill Hawkins ain't just after money. His son died 2 years back. Apache raid. He's been full of hate ever since. Sees your girl as a way to strike back. He won't quit easy. What about Cutter? Cutter just wants you dead. He don't care how or when, long as it happens." McCready moved to the stove, poured 2 cups of coffee. "You killed his operation. Cost him maybe $10,000 in lost sales. Men like that don't forgive." I took the offered coffee, letting the bitter heat wake me fully. "So what do we do?" "You leave before dawn. I'll give you the horses now, supplies too. Consider it payment for work you won't be doing." He pulled out a map, spreading it on the counter. "This route takes you around the main trails. Longer, but safer. Should get you to Fort Grant in 3 days instead of 2. "That's still in time." "Barely, and that's if nothing goes wrong." He traced a finger along the map. "There's a way station here, run by a Chinaman named of Chen. He owes me. Tell him I sent you. He'll give you water and a safe place for a few hours. After that, you're on your own." Maria came down the stairs carrying saddlebags. "Food for 3 days. Canteens. Medicine for her wound. Ammunition for your gun." "We can't pay you for all this," I said. "Don't want payment. Want you to live long enough to get that little girl back to her mother." Maria's eyes glistened. "We lost our son, can't get him back. But maybe helping you makes his life mean something more." Ayanna appeared in the doorway, drawn by voices. She took in the scene, understanding immediately. "They found us." They found your trail, McCready corrected, but I sent them away. This time won't work twice. Then we leave now. Not yet, Maria said. First, you eat proper. Then I check that wound, make sure it's healing clean. Then you go. Another hour won't matter. While Maria tended Ayanna's injury, McCready took me to the corral. 2 horses waited, already saddled. A bay gelding, strong and calm. A smaller paint mare, quick and smart-looking. Bay's name is Copper, mare's called Dancer. Both got good wind, sure feet. Treat them right. They'll get you where you need to go. Thank you, I said, for everything. Thank me by staying alive, and by being good to that girl. She's been through more hell than most people see in a lifetime. I know. Do you? McCready's eyes were sharp. Because it's easy to say you'll stand by someone when things are desperate. Harder when the desperation fades and you're left with the daily work of loving someone broken. She's not broken. She's surviving. Surviving ain't the same as healed. You keep going like you are, you two will end up together. And when that happens, you'll see the nightmares, the flinching, the days she can't get out of bed because the weight of memory's too heavy. You ready for that? I thought about my mother, the months of watching her die, the patience it took, the days I wanted to run because seeing her suffer hurt too much. But I'd stayed because love meant staying. I'll be ready, I said. Good. Because she deserves someone who'll stay. He clapped me on the shoulder. Now help me load these supplies. We worked in silence, packing saddlebags with care. Dried meat, hardtack, canned peaches, coffee, salt, enough to keep us going. McCready added a box of ammunition for my pistol and a rifle he pulled from his stock. You know how to use this? Well enough. Well enough might not be enough. You run into Hawkins or Cutter's men, you shoot first and straight. They won't hesitate. Neither should you. Inside, Maria finished with Ayanna. The wound was healing clean, no infection. Good news in a situation short on it. We ate together, the 4 of us, around McCready's table. Stew, thick with vegetables from their garden, bread still warm from the oven, coffee that could wake the dead. Tell me about your son, Ayanna said to Maria. What was his name? Daniel. Maria's voice was soft. He loved horses, used to spend hours in the corral talking to them. Said they understood him better than people. He sounds special. He was bright, kind, funny. When the cholera came, it took him in 3 days. We couldn't do anything, just watch him burn with fever until he was gone. I'm sorry. Don't be. He had 10 good years. Some people don't get that. Maria reached across the table, taking Ayanna's hand. Your daughter. She's had 3 good years with Carlos and Sofia. They love her. Treat her like their own. If you get her back, remember that. Don't hate them for taking what you couldn't give. I won't, Ayanna promised. I just want to see her, hold her, know she's real. She's real! And if Running Wolf spoke true, you'll hold her soon. We left 2 hours before dawn. The desert was cold, stars brilliant overhead. McCready and Maria stood on the porch watching us mount. One more thing, McCready said. When you get to Fort Grant, look up a man named Pete Morrison. Works at the livery, Apache. Tell him I sent you. He might be able to help. Pete Morrison? I repeated. Any relation to Jake Morrison? You tell me, boy. I stared at him. That's my cousin. Haven't seen him in 2 years. He's been at Fort Grant for 6 months, working, staying out of trouble mostly. Good kid, little young but solid. McCready smiled. Small world, ain't it? Too damn small sometimes. We rode out as the first hint of dawn touched the eastern sky. I looked back once and saw McCready and Maria still watching. 2 people who'd built a life in the spaces between worlds. Proof that it could be done. You think we'll make it? Ayanna asked. We've made it this far. That's not an answer. It's the only one I got. We rode in silence as the sun rose, painting the desert in impossible colors. Somewhere ahead her daughter waited. Somewhere behind, men with guns followed. And somewhere in the middle, we kept riding. Because stopping meant dying, and we had too much to live for now. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction. We'd been riding for 6 hours, following McCready's map through terrain that looked identical from every angle. Red rock, sand, scrub brush, and heat that made the horizon shimmer like water. Ayanna rode ahead, sitting straight despite exhaustion. She'd barely spoken since we left McCready's, lost in thoughts I couldn't reach. Every so often she'd touch her side where Yellow Horse had cut her, like checking to make sure it was real. That this wasn't a dream. Around midday we stopped in the shade of an overhanging cliff. The horses needed rest, and so did we. I rationed out water while Ayanna stared at the map. "We're here," she said, pointing. "Chen's Way station is another 4 hours. We'll reach it by dark. You've been this way before?" "Long time ago, when I was young, before I married Yellow Horse. My mother brought me to meet Maria. I remember the journey more than the visit." "What do you remember about Maria?" "Kindness. She treated my mother like an equal, not a savage or a curiosity. There weren't many white people who did that." Ayanna folded the map carefully. "She lost a child. You heard her talk about Daniel." "Yeah. That kind of loss changes a person, makes them either bitter or beautiful. She chose beautiful." "What about you?" I asked. "When you lost your daughter, what did you choose?" Ayanna was quiet for a long time. "I chose survival. Then I chose revenge. Then, when I killed Yellow Horse, I chose nothing, just waited to die." She looked at me. "Until I met you." "What did you choose then?" "I don't know yet. Hope, maybe, or insanity." A ghost of a smile. "Sometimes they're the same thing." We mounted again and continued riding. The landscape gradually changed as we went higher into rocky country. More vegetation appeared, juniper and pinyon pine clinging to impossible slopes. A hawk circled overhead, riding thermals we couldn't see. "Jake," Ayanna said suddenly, "if we find my daughter, if she's really there, what happens after?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, you've been helping me get to her, but then what? You go back to your life? I take her and disappear? We can't stay together, a white man and an Apache woman with a half-white child. The whole territory will hunt us. Then we go somewhere they won't. There is nowhere. McCready found somewhere, made it work. McCready had money, land, reputation. What do we have? We have each other. That's a start. It's not enough. Maybe not. But it's what we got, so we make it enough." I pulled Copper alongside Dancer so I could see her face. "I'm not walking away, Ayanna. Not from you, not from this. Whatever comes after, we face it together." "You're a fool." "Probably, but I'm your fool." This time she really smiled. "Yes, you are." We rode on as afternoon turned to evening. The sun dropped toward the horizon, painting everything gold and amber. In the distance, I saw smoke rising, the way station. Chen's place was smaller than McCready's, barely more than a shack with a corral. But it had a well, fresh water, drawn from deep underground. And Chen himself, a tiny man maybe 70 years old, came out to greet us with a shotgun and a suspicious expression. "We're friends of Duncan McCready," I called out before dismounting. "He said you'd help us." "McCready sent many people, not all friends." Chen's English was heavily accented but clear. "You got proof?" I pulled out the compass Thomas had carried. McCready had suggested it as a token Chen would recognize. Chen took the compass, examined it, then nodded. "I know this. Belonged to scout named Thomas. Good man. Dead now." "He was my teacher," I said. "And you?" Chen looked at Ayanna. "Apache. Half. Other half. Spanish." Chen studied her face. "You running from someone?" "Several someones." "They close?" "Close enough." Chen was quiet for a moment, then waved us toward the corral. "Put horses there. Water them. Then come inside. I make food. You tell me story. I decide if I help." The interior of Chen's shack was neat and organized despite its small size. A bed in one corner, a stove and table in another. Shelves held supplies, mostly Chinese herbs and medicines I didn't recognize. The smell of ginger and something else, sharp and medicinal, filled the air. Chen cooked while we sat. Rice, vegetables, and meat of some kind, all stir-fried together in a wok over high heat. He worked with the efficiency of someone who'd been doing it for 50 years. "Talk," he said while cooking. "Tell me why you run." So I told him, shorter version than I'd given McCready, hitting the main points. Cutter, yellow horse, the daughter who might be alive at Fort Grant. Chen listened without interrupting. When I finished, he served the food. 3 bowls of rice topped with a stir-fry. "Eat first," he said. "Story better on full stomach." The food was delicious, spicy, and savory in ways I'd never tasted. We ate in silence, Chen watching us with dark eyes that missed nothing. "You love her," Chen said to me. Not a question. "Yes." "You," he turned to Ayanna. "You love him?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." "Good. Love make everything harder, but also worth it." Chen stood, gathering the empty bowls. "I help you, but not because of McCready, because my wife was Japanese. When I marry her, both our families disown us. We come here, build life. She died 5 years ago. I miss her every day." "I'm sorry," Ayanna said. "Don't be sorry. Be grateful you're still alive to love. Death comes for everyone. Love while you can." He moved to a chest, pulling out blankets. "You sleep here tonight. I keep watch. Tomorrow you ride hard for Fort Grant. 2 days if you push. You make it." "Thank you," I said. "Thank me by living, by being happy. That's all thanks I need." We settled in for the night. Chen insisted on first watch, sitting by the window with his shotgun and a cup of tea. I lay down next to Ayanna on the blankets he'd provided. "Jake," she whispered, "about what I said earlier, about loving you." "Yeah? I meant it, but I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of losing you. Everyone I've ever loved has left or died. My mother, my father, Thomas, my daughter. What if you're next?" I pulled her close, feeling her heart beating against my chest. "Then we'll have had whatever time we get. And I'd rather have a short time loving you than a long time loving no one." She was quiet, then said, "When did you become wise?" "About 5 minutes ago. Don't expect it to last." She laughed softly, and the sound was worth everything. All the running, all the danger, all the uncertainty. Worth it for that laugh. We lay there holding each other while Chen kept watch. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, we had shelter and safety and each other. It was enough. I woke to Chen shaking my shoulder, still dark outside, but he was urgent. Riders coming, maybe 10, 15, moving fast. I was on my feet instantly, reaching for my gun. Ayanna woke beside me, already alert. "How far?" I asked. 10 minutes, maybe less." Chen moved to the window. "Too many to fight. You must run." "Which direction?" "East, through the canyon. Narrow, hard to follow in dark. Comes out near Fort Grant Road. Half-day's ride from there." We gathered our things in seconds. No time for proper goodbyes. Chen pressed something into my hand. A small bag of herbs. "For the baby," he said to Ayanna. "When you find her, makes fever tea. Keeps children healthy." Ayanna hugged him quickly. "Thank you. Go, now." We ran to the horses, mounted, and rode east as hoofbeats approached from the west. The canyon Chen mentioned was barely visible in the pre-dawn light, just a darker shadow in the darkness. We plunged into it, trusting the horses to find footing. Behind us, voices shouted. Gunfire cracked, but too far away to be accurate. The canyon was exactly as Chen described, narrow, winding, treacherous, in the dark. Branches whipped at us. Rocks appeared suddenly, forcing the horses to jump or swerve, but we kept moving, putting distance between us and our pursuers. After an hour, the canyon opened onto a wider valley. The first light of dawn showed the Fort Grant Road in the distance, a pale line cutting across the desert. We'd made it. Barely, but we'd made it. 2 more days, Ayanna said, looking at the road. 2 more days, I agreed. We rode toward the sunrise, toward Fort Grant, toward whatever waited there, toward her daughter, and God help anyone who tried to stop us. The Fort Grant road was busier than I expected. We passed freight wagons, a stagecoach, even a small cavalry patrol that eyed us suspiciously but didn't stop us. The closer we got to the fort, the more civilization encroached. Ayana grew quieter with each mile. I could see the tension building in her shoulders, the way her hands gripped the reins too tight. "Talk to me," I said. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that in 2 days I might see my daughter, or I might find out this was all a lie, that Running Wolf used my hope as a weapon. And if it is a lie, then I'll kill him like I killed Yellow Horse, and keep killing until they put me down." Her voice was flat, emotionless, the voice of someone who'd accepted death as inevitable. "Or," I said, "we find out it's true. You hold your daughter, and we figure out the rest from there." "You make it sound simple." "It is simple. Not easy, but simple. One step at a time, one day at a time. That's all any of us can do." She looked at me then, really looked. "How are you so calm?" "I'm not. I'm terrified. But being terrified and being paralyzed aren't the same thing. Old Harley taught me that." "Thomas taught you many things." "Yeah, some good, some bad. But that one stuck." We camped that night in a small grove of cottonwoods, a few hours from Fort Grant. I built a fire while Ayana tended the horses. The routine was comfortable now, familiar. After we ate, she sat close to me, staring into the flames. "Tell me what to expect," she said. "When I see her, what do I say? How do I act? You be her mother, that's all. But she won't know me, won't remember. I'm a stranger to her." "Then you become familiar, slowly, carefully. You don't force it." "And if she rejects me?" "Then you keep trying, keep showing up, keep loving her even when it hurts." I took her hand. "That's what mothers do." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I don't know how to be a mother. I only had her for 3 months." "You knew how to fight for her, to search for her, to risk everything for even the chance of seeing her again. That's being a mother. The rest you'll learn." She leaned against me, and we sat watching the fire burn down to embers. Tomorrow we'd reach Fort Grant. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight we had this moment, and for now it was enough. Fort Grant sat in a wide valley surrounded by brown hills that offered no shade and less mercy. The fort itself was adobe and timber, functional rather than beautiful, but around it a small town had grown like weeds after rain. Saloons, general stores, a hotel, a church, houses scattered without much planning. We rode in slowly, trying not to draw attention, but a white cowboy and an Apache woman riding together drew stares no matter how careful we were. Men stopped their conversations to watch. Women pulled their children closer. A dog barked until someone kicked it quiet. "There," Ayana said, pointing to a livery stable. "We find your cousin first, get information." The livery was well kept, horses in clean stalls, hay fresh and plentiful. A young man was mucking out a stall, his back to us. When he turned, I recognized him immediately, despite 2 years of changes. Pete Morrison, taller now, broader in the shoulders, but still with that same earnest face that made people trust him. "Jake?" His eyes went wide. "Jake Calloway? What in the hell are you doing here?" "Looking for you, apparently. McCready sent us." Pete's eyes shifted to Ayana, and I saw him doing calculations. White man, Apache woman, riding together, the math added up to scandal. "We need to talk," I said. "Somewhere private." Pete glanced around, checking for eavesdroppers. "Back room, follow me." The tack room smelled of leather and oil. Pete closed the door, then turned to face us. "Start talking, cousin, because right now, half the territory's looking for you. Cutter's put a price on your head. $200 dead or alive." "200?" I whistled. "I'm moving up in the world. This ain't funny, Jake. Cutter's men have been through here twice in the last week. They're serious." "So am I." I introduced Ayana properly, then told him the whole story. Everything from the cave to McCready's to why we were here. Pete listened, his expression shifting from skepticism to belief to something like wonder. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You're either the bravest man I know or the dumbest." "Can't I be both?" "Yeah, I suppose you can." Pete rubbed his face. "All right, the Mendez family, I know them. Carlos brings his horses here to be shod. Good people. They got a little place about 2 miles south of town." "And the little girl?" Ayana's voice was tight, controlled. Maria, pretty kid, maybe 3 years old. Carlos and Sofia love her like their own. Found her, they said, abandoned near the border. Took her in, been raising her proper. When do they leave for California? 3 days, already sold most of their stock, just waiting on a wagon repair. 3 days, we'd made it with time to spare. We need to see them, Ayana said. Today. Now. Hold on. Pete raised his hands. You can't just show up and demand to see the kid. These people don't know you. Far as they're concerned, they're her parents. But I'm her mother. You're a stranger claiming to be her mother. There's a difference. Pete's voice was gentle but firm. You go charging in there, you'll scare them and the girl. Need to be smart about this. How? I asked. Let me talk to Carlos first. Feel him out. See if he knows anything about the girl's real mother. Then we go from there. It made sense, but Ayana was shaking her head. I've waited 3 years. I can't wait another day. You can, Pete said. You will, because doing this right means you might get to be part of her life. Doing it wrong means you lose her forever. Ayana looked at me, desperate. I took her hand. He's right, I said. We do this careful. She wanted to argue. I could see it in her eyes. But finally she nodded. Tonight, Pete said. I'll go to Carlos tonight, after he closes his shop. Talk to him casual, like I'm just curious. Then tomorrow, we figure out next steps. Where do we stay? I asked. Hotel's too public. There's a boarding house on the edge of town. Mrs. Chen runs it. She's the widow of a Chinese miner, used to prejudice, doesn't ask questions. I'll take you there. Mrs. Chen's boarding house was small but clean. She looked at Ayana with knowing eyes but said nothing except the price. $2 for the week, meals included. We took a room on the second floor, facing the back where we could see anyone approaching. Pete left to do his work, promising to return after dark with news. The wait was agony. Ayana paced the small room like a caged animal. I tried to get her to eat, to rest, to do anything but wear a hole in the floor. Nothing worked. What if they say no, she asked for the 10th time. What if they won't let me see her? Then we find another way. What other way? I don't know, but we'll find it. She stopped pacing, turned to me. Why are you doing this? Really? You could have left me a dozen times. Should have, but you're still here. You know why? Say it anyway. I need to hear it. I stood, crossing the small distance between us. Because I love you. Because somewhere between that cave and now, you became the most important thing in my world. Because when I look at you, I see a future worth fighting for. She kissed me then, hard and desperate. Not gentle, not questioning, claiming. I kissed her back, pouring everything I felt into it. Fear, hope, love, determination. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, she pressed her forehead to mine. I love you too, she whispered. Even though it terrifies me, even though I don't know how this ends, I love you. We held each other as the sun set, as darkness filled the room. Held each other like we could keep the whole world at bay through sheer willpower. A knock at the door made us both jump. I drew my gun, moved to the door. It's Pete, came the voice. I opened the door. Pete slipped in, looking excited and worried in equal measure. I talked to Carlos, he said without preamble. Told him I'd heard rumors about an Apache woman looking for a lost child. Asked if he knew anything about Maria's real mother. And? Ayana stepped forward. He knows, not everything, but enough. Said a Mexican family near the border found Maria abandoned in the desert 3 years ago. They cared for her a few months, then realized they couldn't keep her. Carlos and Sofia, who'd been trying for years to have children without success, agreed to take her. Did he say anything about how she was abandoned? Only that she was left near a mission, with a note in Apache asking whoever found her to keep her safe from Yellow Horse. Ayana's breath caught. My note. I wrote it. Put it in her blanket before Running Wolf took her. Running Wolf? Pete frowned. The Apache warrior? Yellow Horse's brother. He told me he gave Maria to a Mexican family to save her. I thought he was lying. Maybe he wasn't. Pete pulled out a chair, sat heavily. There's more. Carlos said a few weeks ago an Apache man came to him, said he was the girl's uncle, said her mother was looking for her. Carlos didn't know whether to believe him. That was Running Wolf, Ayanna said. He was telling the truth. Carlos thinks so too now. He said if the mother was real, if she really wanted to see Maria, he'd allow it. But only if certain conditions were met. What conditions? First, she has to prove she's the mother. Running Wolf told Carlos about the green eyes, said Maria's mother had the same. That's rare enough to be proof. Second, she has to understand that Carlos and Sofia are Maria's parents now. They've raised her, loved her, given her everything. Any meeting has to respect that. I do, Ayanna said quickly. I do respect it. I just want to see her, hold her, know she's safe and loved. Pete studied her face. You mean that? Because Carlos will know if you're lying. And if he thinks you're trying to take Maria from them, he'll disappear. California's big. You'll never find them. I mean it. I swear on everything I am. Pete nodded slowly. All right. I'll arrange a meeting tomorrow afternoon. Their house. But Jake, you should know something else. What? Bill Hawkins is in town. Came in this morning with 3 other men. They're asking questions. Showing people your description. It's only a matter of time before someone points them here. My stomach dropped. How much time? Day, maybe 2. This is a small town. Secrets don't keep long. Then we do this tomorrow and leave immediately after. There's one more thing. Pete looked uncomfortable. Running Wolf is here too. Saw him this morning talking to some Apache scouts near the fort. He's waiting for something or someone. Me, Ayanna said, and he's waiting for me. You think he'll try to stop you from seeing Maria? I don't know, but I'm not letting him or anyone else keep me from my daughter. Pete left shortly after, promising to make arrangements with Carlos. Ayanna and I sat in the darkness, neither of us speaking. Finally I said, Tomorrow, your life changes. You ready for that? No, but I'm doing it anyway. That's all courage is, doing it anyway. She took my hand. Stay with me tonight? I don't want to be alone. I'm not going anywhere. We lay down together on the narrow bed, clothed and careful, just holding each other through the long night. Outside, the town settled into sleep. Somewhere out there, Hawkins hunted for us. Running Wolf waited, and Maria, innocent of all the drama swirling around her, slept safe in her home. Tomorrow, worlds would collide. But tonight, we had each other. And in the darkness, that was enough. Dawn came too fast and too slow. I'd barely slept, every noise making me reach for my gun. Ayanna hadn't slept at all. I could tell by the way she lay perfectly still, breathing too controlled to be sleep. It's time, I said, as first light touched the window. She sat up, smoothing her dress. Maria had given her new clothes at the trading post. A simple dress, white woman style, less likely to draw attention. But she'd kept her Apache necklace, the silver cross that had been her mother's. How do I look? She asked. Terrified, but beautiful. That's honest at least. We ate breakfast in the boarding house dining room. Mrs. Chen served eggs and rice, strong coffee. Other boarders stared, but said nothing. We were the topic of whispered conversation, but no one confronted us directly. Pete arrived mid-morning, looking nervous. Carlos will see you, 2 o'clock. Their house. But there are rules. What rules? Maria doesn't know about you. Far as she knows, Carlos and Sofia are her parents. Carlos wants to introduce you as a friend of the family. Let Maria decide if she wants to interact. If she's scared or upset, you leave immediately. No arguments. Agreed, Ayanna said. Also, Sofia will be there the whole time. She's protective of Maria, more protective than Carlos even. Don't say or do anything that makes her feel threatened. I won't. And Jake, you should probably wait outside. White cowboy and Apache woman together, it'll raise questions Carlos doesn't want to answer. No, Ayanna's voice was firm. Jake comes in with me or I don't go. Pete looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Ayanna's expression stopped him. Fine, but stay quiet. Let Ayanna do the talking. The hours until 2 o'clock crawled by. We stayed in the room, avoiding the town, avoiding attention. At 1:30, we left the boarding house, taking the back streets Pete had mapped for us. The Mendez house sat on the southern edge of town, small but well maintained. A garden grew in front, vegetables fighting against the heat, chickens scratched in a pen. A dog lay in the shade, too hot to bark. Pete knocked. The door opened, and a man appeared. 40 years old, maybe, weathered skin, kind eyes, worry lines deep around his mouth. "Carlos," Pete said. "This is Ayanna, and Jake Calloway." Carlos studied Ayanna's face, his eyes widening when he saw the green. Dios mío. Running Wolf spoke true. "May we come in?" Ayanna's voice shook slightly. Carlos stepped aside. "See, please." The interior was cool and neat. Simple furniture, a table set for dinner, religious icons on the walls. And in the corner, playing with a wooden horse, a little girl. Ayanna froze. I felt her whole body go rigid beside me. The girl had dark brown hair, sun-touched skin, and when she looked up at the sound of visitors, eyes the exact color of new leaves, green like her mother's. Impossible. Beautiful. "Maria," Carlos said gently, "we have visitors. Come say hello." The girl stood, shy but obedient. She was tiny, delicate, wearing a simple dress that Sophia had clearly made with love. She looked at Carlos first, checking if it was safe, then at Pete, then at me. When her eyes reached Ayanna, she tilted her head, curious. "Hello," she said in Spanish-accented English. "What's your name?" Ayanna opened her mouth, but no sound came. Tears streamed down her face, silent and unstoppable. "This is my friend Ayanna," Carlos said, stepping in smoothly. "She's come to visit." "Why is she crying?" Maria asked, concerned. "Is she hurt?" "No, pequeña. She's just happy to meet you." "Why?" "Because you're very special." Maria considered this, then walked closer to Ayanna. She was fearless in the way only children can be, curious without caution. "You have pretty eyes," Maria said, "like mine." Ayanna dropped to her knees, bringing herself to Maria's level. "Yes, like yours." "Are you my aunt? Papa said I might have family I don't know." Ayanna looked at Carlos, a question in her eyes. He nodded slightly. "I'm your mother," Ayanna said softly. "Your first mother, before Carlos and Sophia." Maria frowned, thinking. "Mama Sophia said I had another mama, one who loved me very much but couldn't keep me safe." "That's right. Are you her?" "Yes." Maria studied Ayanna's face, then reached out and touched her cheek where tears still fell. "Don't cry. I'm safe now. Papa and Mama take good care of me." The simple kindness of it broke something in Ayanna. She pulled Maria close, holding her carefully, like she might break. Maria allowed it, patient, not understanding, but not afraid. A woman appeared from the back room. Sophia, I assumed. Younger than Carlos, maybe 30. Beautiful in a severe way, with eyes that missed nothing and trusted less. She saw Ayanna holding Maria and moved forward quickly, protective. "It's all right," Carlos said in Spanish. "This is the mother, the one Running Wolf told us about." Sophia stopped but didn't relax. "Maria, come here, niña." Maria pulled away from Ayanna, going to Sophia immediately. Sophia picked her up, held her close. "I think," Sophia said in careful English, "we should talk, adults only. Maria, go play in your room. But I want to talk to the lady with pretty eyes. Later, perhaps. Now go." Maria pouted but obeyed, disappearing into a back room. The moment she was gone, Sophia's demeanor changed. Not hostile, but guarded. "Sit," she said. "We talk." We sat around the table. Carlos poured water for everyone. Sophia kept her eyes on Ayanna the whole time. "You are her mother," Sophia said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "And you want her back." "No." Ayanna's voice was clear, steady. "I want her safe, happy, loved. You've given her that. I could never repay you." "Then why come? Why disrupt her life?" "Because I needed to know, needed to see that she was alive, that she was thriving. For 3 years I thought she was dead. Learning she lived, it gave me hope. But I'm not here to take her from you." Sophia studied her face, looking for lies. "You say this now, but later, when you've had time to think, you might change your mind." "I won't, because I know what it's like to be torn between two worlds." I'm half Spanish, half Apache. I never fit anywhere, never belonged. Maria, she belongs here with you, with Carlos, in this life you've built for her. Then what do you want? To see her sometimes, to know her, to let her know she has a mother who loved her enough to let her go. When she's older, when she can understand, I want her to know I didn't abandon her. I saved her. Sophia's eyes glistened. You saved her from what? From her father, my husband, Yellow Horse. He killed her because she had the wrong eyes. But his brother, Running Wolf, he took her body. Except she wasn't dead. He gave her to a Mexican family, told them to hide her, to save her from Yellow Horse's rage. This Yellow Horse, Carlos said. Where is he now? Dead. I killed him. The words hung in the air. Sophia's hand went to her cross, a reflexive gesture. Carlos just nodded slowly. Good, he said. A man who kills a baby deserves death. We're leaving in 3 days, Sophia said. Going to California, building a new life. If you want to see Maria, it must be now. We won't delay. I understand. And if you try to take her, if you try to stop us, I will fight you with everything I have. She is my daughter now, in my heart, in the eyes of God. I won't try to take her. I swear it. Sophia and Carlos exchanged a look, some silent communication that came from years of marriage. Finally, Sophia nodded. You can visit, today, tomorrow, before we leave, but supervised, always. And the moment Maria shows fear or distress, you leave. Thank you. Ayana's voice broke. Thank you so much. Sophia called Maria back. The little girl came running, full of energy and questions. Can I play with the pretty lady now? Yes, Pequeña. For a little while. Ayana spent the next 2 hours on the floor with her daughter, playing with toys, answering questions, listening to stories about chickens and the dog and a friend named Rosa. Maria chattered endlessly, comfortable with Ayana in the way children are when they sense goodness. I stayed back, watching. Carlos sat with me, and we talked quietly about California, about horses, about anything except the emotional storm happening in front of us. She's a good woman, Carlos said, nodding toward Ayana. Strong, like Maria will be when she grows. Yeah, she is. You love her. Is it that obvious? Only to anyone with eyes. Carlos smiled. It's good. Everyone needs someone to love, someone to fight for. When the sun began to set, Sophia said it was time for dinner, time for Ayana to go. Can she come back tomorrow? Maria asked. Please? Yes, Sophia said. She can come back tomorrow. Ayana knelt, hugging Maria one more time. I'll see you tomorrow, Pequeña. Promise? I promise. We left as Maria waved from the window. Ayana held herself together until we were out of sight, then collapsed against a wall, sobbing. I held her while she cried. Not sad tears, relief, joy, grief, everything at once. She's perfect, Ayana said when she could speak, so perfect and happy and loved. You gave her that by letting her go. It hurts so much, I know. But it's the right hurt, the good hurt. We made our way back to the boarding house as night fell. Neither of us saw the man watching from across the street. Didn't see him turn and walk quickly toward the saloon where Bill Hawkins was drinking. Didn't see the storm coming. But it was coming. Fast. The knock came at dawn. Urgent. Insistent. I grabbed my gun, moved to the door. Who is it? Pete, open up, quick. I opened the door. Pete pushed in, his face pale. Hawkins knows you're here. One of the boarders saw you yesterday, recognized you from the description, told Hawkins last night for $20. How long do we have? Minutes. He's gathering men now, maybe 10 of them. They're coming here. Ayana was already up, gathering our few belongings. We run? Where? I asked. They know the town, know the land. We run, they'll hunt us down. Then we fight, Ayana said. 10 against 2, that's not a fight, that's suicide. There might be another way. Pete moved to the window, checking the street. Running Wolf, he's camped north of town with maybe 20 warriors. If we can reach him, ask for protection. He'll kill me, Ayana said. I murdered his brother. Maybe, or maybe he'll honor the debt he owes your mother. Maybe he'll see protecting you as repaying that debt. That's a lot of maybes. It's all we got. Pete turned from the window. Besides, I talked to him yesterday. Asked him why he was here. He said he was waiting for Yellow Horse's widow. Said he had words to speak to her. Didn't sound like killing words. Ayanna looked at me. What do you think? I think we don't have many options. And Running Wolf at least has a reason to help. Hawkins just wants us dead. All right. We go to Running Wolf. We left through the back window, dropping into an alley. Pete led us through the maze of back streets, avoiding the main roads. Behind us, I heard shouting. Hawkins had reached the boarding house. We made it to the edge of town, where houses gave way to open desert. Pete pointed north. 2 miles. You'll see their fires. Tell Running Wolf that Pete Morrison vouches for you. Tell him McCready says the debt must be honored. You're not coming? Ayanna asked. I go with you. I can't come back. I got a life here, a girl I care about. He looked apologetic. I'm sorry. I can only help so far. You've helped enough, I said. More than enough. Thank you, cousin. Don't thank me yet. Running Wolf might just kill you faster than Hawkins would. We ran. The desert was still cool from night, but the sun was rising fast. Behind us, I heard horses, Hawkins and his men coming fast. There, Ayanna pointed. Smoke rising from a small canyon, Running Wolf's camp. We ran harder, legs burning, lungs screaming. The horses behind were gaining. A gunshot cracked. The bullet hit sand 20 feet to our right. Then we were at the canyon entrance. Apache warriors appeared from nowhere, blocking our path. 7 men, armed with rifles and bows. They didn't look friendly. I need to speak to Running Wolf, Ayanna said in Apache. It's urgent. He doesn't speak to white men, one warrior said, eyeing me with contempt. Then he speaks to me. Ayanna, daughter of Elena Reyes. Tell him I'm here to collect the debt. The warrior hesitated, then gestured for another to go. We stood there, surrounded, while hoofbeats got closer. Running Wolf emerged from the canyon. He was tall, lean, with the kind of face that gave nothing away. His eyes found Ayanna, studied her, then shifted to me. You killed my brother, he said in English. I did. He was killing me. I defended myself. And you, he looked at me. You're the white man who protects her. I am. Why? Because I love her. Running Wolf's eyebrow raised slightly. Love? Interesting reason to die. Behind us, the horses stopped. Hawkins' voice rang out. Send them out, or we come in and take them. Running Wolf looked past us at the 10 armed men, then back at us. 20 years ago, he said slowly, Elena Reyes pulled me from a river when I was drowning. I was 7 years old. She saved my life, though helping an Apache child could have gotten her killed. When I asked why she helped, she said all children deserve to live, all children deserve a chance. He paused, his eyes on Ayanna. My brother Yellow Horse was a cruel man. I loved him because he was blood, but I didn't respect him. When he killed your daughter, I knew he had gone too far, so I saved her, gave her to a Mexican family, good people who would love her. I know, Ayanna said. I saw her yesterday. She's beautiful, happy, because of you, because of us both. You let her go. That took strength. Running Wolf moved closer. I came here to tell you something. My brother's clan demanded I avenge him. They wanted your death. I told them no. I told them the debt to your mother was greater than the debt to my brother. They accepted this. You're free. No one will hunt you. Relief flooded Ayanna's face. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Running Wolf turned toward Hawkins and his men. These white men, they hunt you? Yes. Why? I explained quickly. The gun running, cutter, everything. Running Wolf listened, then smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. I think, he said, that these men need to learn that some prey is protected. He spoke rapidly in Apache. His warriors moved, spreading out, rifles raised. Running Wolf walked toward Hawkins, stopping 20 feet away. Leave, he said simply. This is white man's business, Hawkins called back. Don't involve yourself. The woman is under my protection. You want her, you go through me, and my 20 warriors, and the 100 more who will come if you spill Apache blood today. Hawkins looked at the warriors, calculating. 10 against 20. Bad odds. 10 against 100. Suicide. Cutter's paying good money for that boy, Hawkins said, but his voice had lost its certainty. Then tell Cutter his money is no good here. Tell him if he wants the boy he should come himself. We'll be waiting. The standoff stretched. Then one of Hawkins' men turned his horse, then another. Hawkins held for another moment, then spat in the dirt. This ain't over. Yes, Running Wolf said. It is. Hawkins and his men rode away. Running Wolf watched until they were out of sight, then turned back to us. You're safe now. From my people, from theirs. But you can't stay in this territory. Too many enemies. Too much blood. We're leaving, Ayanna said. After I see my daughter one more time. The Mexican family. They leave for California soon? 3 days. Good. California is far. Different laws, different people. You could build a life there. What about you? I asked. Cutter will know you helped us. He'll come after you. Running Wolf shrugged. Let him try. His kind have been trying to eliminate my kind for 100 years. We're still here. We spent the day in Running Wolf's camp. The warriors treated us with cautious respect, neither friendly nor hostile, just accepting. Running Wolf told us stories about Elena, about how she'd worked at the mission school teaching Apache children to read, how she'd treated everyone with kindness, regardless of their skin. She believed in bridges, he said, between worlds, between peoples. You two are living proof her belief was right. That evening, he gave us horses, not a loan, a gift. Take them, good horses, they'll carry you far. We can't pay you, I said. Don't want payment. Want you to survive. Want Maria to grow up knowing her mother didn't abandon her. Want this story to have a good ending, because too many don't. We returned to town after dark, careful and quiet. Tomorrow, Ayanna would see Maria one last time. Then we'd leave, head west, maybe California, maybe somewhere else, somewhere we could breathe. The next morning, we went to the Mendez house. Carlos welcomed us, but Sophia looked worried. Men came last night, she said, asking questions about you. We told them nothing, but they know you've been here. We're leaving today, Ayanna said, after I say goodbye to Maria. Sophia's face softened slightly. She's been asking about you, wants to know when the pretty lady is coming back. Maria ran to Ayanna the moment she saw her, hugging her legs. Ayanna picked her up, holding her close. I brought you something, Ayanna said. She pulled out the silver cross that had belonged to her mother. This was my mother's, your grandmother's. I want you to have it. It's beautiful, Maria breathed, touching it gently. When you wear it, remember that you come from strong women, women who loved fiercely and fought bravely. You're part of that line. Will I see you again? Ayanna's voice broke. I don't know, Pequeña. Maybe. Someday. I hope so. I like you. I love you more than anything in this world. They sat together for hours. Ayanna combed Maria's hair, taught her an Apache song, told her stories about her grandmother. Maria listened, absorbed everything, asked 1,000 questions. When it was time to leave, Ayanna held Maria one last time. Be good for your mama and papa. Study hard. Be kind. Be strong. And remember that somewhere your first mama is thinking of you, always. I'll remember, Maria promised. Sophia walked us to the door. At the threshold, she stopped Ayanna. You did the right thing, she said quietly, letting her stay with us. That's real love, putting her happiness above your own. Take care of her. With my life. Sophia paused. We'll tell her about you. When she's older, we'll make sure she knows you loved her. Thank you. We rode out of Fort Grant as the sun set. Behind us, Maria waved from the window until we were out of sight. Ahead, the desert stretched endlessly, full of danger and possibility. You all right? I asked Ayanna. No, but I will be. Regrets? Only one, that I didn't have more time. But that's life, isn't it? Never enough time, never enough of anything except love. We rode through the night, putting distance between us and everyone who wanted us dead or gone. By dawn, we'd crossed into new territory. Unknown, unmapped. 2 days later, we found it. A small valley hidden by rock formations and accessible only through a narrow passage. Water ran through it, feeding grass and trees. Game trails crossed it. It was perfect. This could be it, I said. Our place. Ayanna looked around, and I saw something in her face I hadn't seen before. Peace. Yes, this could be home. We spent the next weeks building a small adobe house, 1 room to start, a corral for the horses, a garden plot where we'd plant in the spring. It was hard work, but good work, the kind that left you tired but satisfied. One evening, as we sat watching the sunset, Ayanna took my hand and placed it on her stomach. "I'm pregnant," she said. My heart stopped. "Are you sure?" "Women know, I'm sure." "How long?" 2 months, maybe. The baby will come in the spring." I pulled her close, overwhelmed. "We're going to have a child." "Yes, are you ready?" "No, but I'll try to be." She laughed. "That's all any parent can do." As winter approached, a wagon appeared at the entrance to our valley. A black man and a Cherokee woman, both young, both running from something. "We heard there was a place," the man said, "where people like us could live without judgment." "Who told you?" I asked. "Running Wolf. Said a white cowboy and an Apache woman were building something new. Said they might welcome others." I looked at Ayanna. She nodded. "You're welcome," I said, "if you're willing to work, to build, to be part of something bigger than just yourself." They stayed. And over the next months, others came. A Mexican family fleeing persecution, a Chinese couple who'd been driven from their mining claim. Not all stayed. Some found the isolation too hard, the work too brutal. But those who remained built something that lasted. By the time our daughter was born, there were 5 families living in the valley. Building houses, planting crops, creating a community. We named her Elena Grace. Elena for Ayanna's mother, Grace for mine. She had dark hair and brown eyes and the most perfect smile I'd ever seen. On her first birthday, we took her to the prayer tree that grew at the valley's edge, an ancient cottonwood that the Apache had considered sacred. We tied a ribbon to its branches, red and white, woven together. "What are we praying for?" Ayanna asked. "Not praying, promising. Promising that we'll build something better for her, for all of them." I gestured at the valley, at the families gathering for the celebration. "A promise we can keep? We'll spend the rest of our lives trying." She kissed me then, there under the tree with our daughter between us. And I thought about the long journey from that cave to here. All the pain and fear and impossible choices. It had been worth it. Every step, every struggle. Sometimes on quiet evenings after Elena Grace was asleep, Ayanna would sit by the window and take out a small wooden horse. Carlos had given it to her on our last day in Fort Grant, pressing it into her hands with tears in his eyes. "Maria made me promise to give this to you," he'd said. She carved it herself. Took her 3 days. She said, "Give this to the pretty lady so she remembers me." Ayanna would hold that little horse, running her fingers over the rough edges where a 3-year-old's hands had worked the wood. And she'd whisper into the darkness, words I wasn't meant to hear, but always did. I remember, Pequeña, every day, every moment I remember. The first time I saw her do this, I asked if it hurt too much, if we should put the horse away, try to move forward without looking back. She'd looked at me with those green eyes, so like Maria's, and said, "The hurt is how I know the love is real. I don't want to stop hurting. I just want to learn to carry it better." So she carried it. We both did. The knowledge that somewhere in California, a little girl was growing up happy and loved. That she wore a silver cross around her neck and maybe, sometimes, wondered about the woman with eyes like hers. The woman who'd let her go so she could stay whole. That was love too. The kind that doesn't get celebrated in songs or stories. The quiet kind. The kind that breaks you and remakes you at the same time. Because love, real love, isn't about the easy moments. It's about the hard ones. About choosing someone every day, even when it's difficult. About building something that lasts. We'd built that, together. And standing there with Ayana and Elena Grace, surrounded by our chosen family, I finally understood what my mother had meant all those years ago. Find something worth living for. I'd found it, not in wealth or status or safety, but in love, in family. In a community built on the simple idea that all people, regardless of their skin or their past, deserve a chance. The sun set over our valley, painting everything gold. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, always would. But tonight, we celebrated life, love, hope, and the promise that no matter what came, we'd face it together. The young cowboy who'd gotten lost in a storm had found his way home, not to a place, but to a person, to a purpose, to a future built one choice at a time, one promise at a time, one love at a time, and that, in the end, was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The end.